Hi, Mr. Andrew here, and today we're rounding 987,654 to the tens, hundreds, and thousands place value. So here next to the question I have a place value chart. If we notice here, it actually has decimals on it. Those are to the right of the decimal point, and we aren't going to talk about those yet. Those are actually going to come in a later chapter. Right now we're going to concentrate, if we start here at the ones, and we move tens, hundreds, thousands. For most of you, this will seem really natural, and we've dealt with numbers such as this when we're dealing with monetary interactions, things like that. But here, it's always good that you have a place value chart until you get really comfortable with it, because we're going to have to use this. Now, if I look here, I don't actually have a decimal point, but there's an assumed one right after this number. We assume that the last number is in the ones position since we don't see a decimal point. Now that means the number next to that would be the tens. So the 5 is in the tens position, and that's the first number we have to round to. If I gave you a spectrum of numbers, if I gave you the 10 digits we use, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it repeats back to the 0. If I divide these up, if I say this is the first half and this is the second half, then I would say these round up, these round down, but that's really a bad word. I'd rather say keep the same. So meaning that we have not, if we're at 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we have not gotten close enough to the next digit to warrant moving up towards it if we're rounding or approximating. We want to keep them the same. So the general rule is, and I'll show you with an example here, is 987,654. If I'm rounding to the 10 spot, I'm rounding to this position right here. This is where I'm rounding. I look at this number over here. It's a 4, so I actually keep this the same, keep the 5 the same, and I round it to 987,650. I keep it the same, but I turn that 4 to 0. Okay? Now here, let me grab another sheet of paper and we'll do the next one. We have 987,000 again, but we have to round it to the hundreds position. So if I look at the hundreds position, that is the 6. Now I look at the 6 and I look to the right of it. It's a 5. That's actually large enough to warrant moving up a digit if we're rounding. So 987,000 stays the same. The 6 actually transitions to a 7, and then the 5 and the 4 become zeros. We rounded them off. Okay? Now here for the thousands position, we're going to try the same thing. We're going to say 987,654. If I round to the thousands position, that'd be the 7. I look here, it is a 6. Again, this warrants moving it up. So I actually have 988,000, and then the rest go to zeros. So the general motive here is that you look at the position where you're rounding to, you look to the right of it. 5 or up, you round that number up, drop everything to zeros. If it's 4 or below, you keep that number the same and drop everything to zeros. Okay, thank you, and I hope this helped.